place online, and it's certainly documented and saved online with hundreds of photos and videos, and reminding yourself of what you did a year ago and 6 months ago and last week. It's really difficult to express how important to teenagers their online life and their social media profile and presence often is. I think a really poignant study was done by Adam Alter, who interviewed hundreds of 11 to 16-year-olds and asked them a very simple question. Would you rather have a small bone in your hand break or watch your phone smash to the floor and the screen break into thousands of pieces? And over 50% of those interviews said that they would rather break their hand than see their phone break and be without their phone for the 24, 48 hours to get it repaired. And I think that really kind of highlights to us who perhaps aren't in that generation that how important to children their online presence really is. Because children are spending so long online, and even if they're not spending hours and hours online, the important peer interactions to them are taking place online. Their mental health and the way that they feel about themselves can be really affected by what they see online. This doesn't necessarily have to be if they've seen something unpleasant or something they find disturbing. It can be quite benign things, like if your child is interested in calligraphy or art and they've chosen to follow lots of accounts of people who do that really, really well. This slow drip feed of watching constantly people who are very good at something that they want to be good at can erode their self-confidence and can make them feel that the things that they are doing aren't quite as good as the things that other people are doing. And this can then impact their mental health. I think that tied with the fact that their social lives are now 24/7. Prior to the internet and social media and this online world and real life merging, children would have their school time, their family time, and their social time, and they'd be mostly separate. Now it is 24/7. Their ability to socialize and their ability to be influenced by other people, whether that be influencers or their peers, has now seeped into the entirety of their day. And this includes the time that they should be asleep. Children and teens' phone use at night time can really disrupt their sleep, either by notifications going off or by the fear that they're perhaps missing out on something and they want to reply, or they can see lots of group messages going and they want to know what's going on. And that then feeds back into impacting their mental health. Because as we all know, if you don't get enough sleep, it can lead to depression and anxiety symptoms, certainly exacerbate any if they exist. So in terms of the online life that our children are immersed in, it's got its lovely benefits, and it's exposing them to all sorts of different things, and they're able to connect with people from all around the world. But it is really important to be aware quite how all-consuming this can be at times. So your children will exist online mostly through a series of platforms or a series of apps, most of which will fall under the category of social media apps. And it's really important to be aware of the apps that your child has access to. Now, depending on if your child is at the younger end of the scale, kind of maybe you're just about to introduce a phone or just about to allow them onto social media, or if your child is much older, will depend on the type of apps and the number of apps that you've allowed them access to. If we start off with some of the really common ones that teenagers are using these days, and just walk you through the differences between these different types of apps that your child might be either using now or perhaps about to use. So first of all, we've got direct messaging apps. So you've got your Messenger on your phone or WhatsApp. And this relies on someone having access to your child's phone number. So there is an element of kind of filtering out of how many people they're going to be able to access on that, because they need to have their phone number in order to send messages back and forth. I think we're probably all fairly aware with how WhatsApp works and the way that it's used. But typically it's used with a lot of group chats, exchanging photos, and general kind of logistics and messaging. Then we move from WhatsApp and messaging groups onto kind of the main social media apps. And I think it's really important to always bear in mind that social media companies have no interest whatsoever in your child's well-being or safety. Their entire objective is to have your child spend as long as possible on their app and to give as much of their attention as possible for as many hours a day to interacting with other accounts that are also on that social media platform or app. So the ones that are commonly used at the moment are Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and if your child's into online computer games, Discord. These all work slightly differently, but they're similar in the way that you can either directly friend request, so you can talk to people who you know or who maybe you've met online. But also, if your child, again, we'll use the child who's interested in calligraphy, once it follows a couple of calligraphy accounts, it will push more calligraphy accounts into their feed, and it will suggest them to them, oh, if you like this, you might also like this. So the algorithm kind of pushes your child down a route that it thinks it's interesting in, suggesting up different accounts to follow. In terms of keeping on top of the settings for these and to make sure that that your child's staying really safe online, the best resource for that is the National Online Safety website. It is possible to set up private accounts for these, to make it so that in some of the apps, and if you're using family sharing, you can see what they are looking at on the app. I know TikTok allows you to do that. So the best way to get instructions of how to do that, because the apps update themselves so quickly, is the National Online Safety website. And also another really good website is called Internet Matters, that has parent guides to these apps. So the WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Discord is an environment that it's up to you as parents to decide how much of that you're going to allow your child to exist on and set up accounts on. There is one type of social media app which is really important for me to flag up, called Omegle. This is very, very different than the Instagram, Snapchat type apps. Omegle's prime objective is to match up strangers with strangers for predominantly webcam conversations. So the user opens the app, presses chat now, literally a roulette wheel goes round, and it just serves up a stranger online who usually has a webcam on, ready for a video chat. There is a sort of the app says a semi sort of, well, we're looking after people by saying, I agree to view adult content. But in our experience, children's idea of what adult content is usually means some sort of rude words or swearing, and often they're quite surprised by what they see and upset what they see at the other end of the webcam. So if your child is talking to you or you've heard the term Omegle, there is no reason at all for your child to be on this. It's not like the social media apps like Instagram, TikTok, etc. It is purely there to match up strangers with other strangers for conversations and webcam exchanges. So I don't mean to start off so doom and gloom, and I guess probably the most important thing is what as a parent can I do to help my child to become really online resilient to these different things that we've just outlined. And the biggest thing is to take a regular interest in your child's online life. Just like you would do if your child was interested in a musical instrument or perhaps was part of a swimming team, you would regularly inquire as to how it's going. You might ask to see some of the stuff they're doing. And again, depending on the age group of your child, this might be really easy to implement from the start and normalize this idea that I am going to regularly take an interest in my child's online activities. I'm going to sit next to them. I'm going to watch the 700 videos of a chihuahua wearing a tutu doing a dance, and I'm going to make sure that I am present and there enough, obviously not all the time, but enough that I am able to have these conversations. And if I need to ask an awkward question or a challenging question, I've banked enough of this online trust with my child that means that I've normalized that. If you're listening to this and your child is already 15, 16, and you haven't ever had a conversation with them with their life online to date, you can definitely start doing it. It's never too late to start doing it. And I would say go from a relationships first approach. So if you've only ever spoken to them about that online life in terms of that's enough screen time, put your phone down, it will take a little bit of time to move from that to your child feeling that they've got this online trust and they're happy to discuss things with you. So I'd say from a relationship first approach, from a curiosity approach, think about coming in with, oh, I've heard about TikTok. How's that different from Snapchat? And then you can kind of move on from there. But just drip feeding in this idea that I am going to talk about the online world with you, but start off low challenge, low threat, and just start to normalise the idea, even if your child looks a bit confused as to why you're suddenly asking them that. But the main thing is these resources on the National Online Safety website are really, really good for parents to be able to see what the individual apps are actually all about.
Well, thank you, Jen, for that excellent summation of the different apps and platforms available to young people, including some to avoid. Clearly, the Omegle is one that I wasn't aware of, and thank you for sharing that. And that important point that I'm hearing is about keeping that conversation going, starting that conversation if it hasn't started, and it's never too late to start. So thank you very much.
Definitely. So, as I've just explained, children and teenagers find that the real world and that online world have merged, and it's very difficult to pull it apart. So unfortunately, bullying exists in the real world, and now that children are existing online, bullying has ported online with them. The key difference, however, is that unlike face-to-face bullying, kind of we're going to call it old school bullying, children are very poor at recognizing bullying behaviors online. They are really bad at noticing that someone is being unkind to them, because it's normally wrapped up in a kind of passive aggressive, often on a group chat situation where they have to kind of, in order to say this isn't making me feel very good, they'd have to say that in front of 22 other people. And it's difficult for them to see that their friend is actually behaving in bullying manners and displaying bullying behavior online. It's very tempting to categorize people into either victims or villains. But again, the online world has kind of blurred these lines a bit. With group chats, it's really difficult for children to anticipate what's going to happen next. So if we take a group chat where someone thinks, I wasn't very happy with how someone behaved today, I'm going to tell them that I wasn't very happy with it. Children find it hard to then anticipate that everybody else in the group might also like to have their say and say, yeah, I agree. And all of a sudden, someone who just wanted to go for some conflict resolution has now essentially initiated some quite harmful online bullying behavior without recognizing they were going to do it and without realizing that that was likely to be the consequence. Same with being a victim of online bullying. It's not the same sort of feeling as if someone was pushing you over or shouting you at school or leaving you out. That's quite easy to recognize. Online, it's far more subtle. So it's have an open mind that your child could well make mistakes online, both in terms of possibly bullying behavior that they're doing online or in becoming a victim of bullying online without noticing it. If you are there having regular, low stakes, calm conversations with your child about their online life, this is a perfect opportunity to point out online bullying behavior. So you can coach your child into how to navigate these tricky group chat situations. You can say, I know that she's your friend and that you do spend quite a lot of time together, but I've noticed that the messages that she's sending you are often quite unpleasant, and it looks like they're making you feel a bit sad. I wonder if that is how you're feeling. You can narrate your child through that situation and point out these behaviors to them, and then help them to think about how they are going to deal with that situation offline, face to face. Of course, if your child is a victim of any sort of serious bullying, it's very important to flag that up with the child's school if it's with school friends, or if it's an online app-based thing with friends who they've seen, who they only know online, then you can report those accounts to the app. It's really key to also, when you see, again, if you're having these day-to-day conversations with your child, if you see other children making mistakes online, that's a perfect opportunity to coach your child. You can almost jump on that and say, look, these two people are trying to resolve an argument on a group chat of 30 people. How is it going? Let's look at how that's panned out. Hasn't worked very well. What do you think they could do differently? Hopefully steering your child towards the idea that conflict resolution and difficult conversations should be done face to face, not online, and certainly not in a group chat situation. It's really important with any online mistakes to have a very calm reaction to anything that your child says to you, whether they say that someone has been bullying them or that they have been unpleasant to someone and now it's coming to light that they've realised they've been unpleasant. A calm reaction to that is going to help build digital trust with your child, which means that later down the line, if they make perhaps more serious mistakes, they'll be able to trust you to react just as calmly and be on their side, rather than to respond in a way that makes them not want to come to you with their future mistakes.
Okay, thank you, Jen. That was great. I think obviously there's no place for bullying, whether online or in person at all, and that's very clear. But I'd like to hold on to two of your phrases there. Coaching your child. I thought that was a very effective way of sort of building, as you say, digital trust and keeping that sense of calm if and when something were to occur, just to keep that trust maintained going forward. And of course, reporting anything that is untoward. Okay,
so online grooming. I'm sure that everyone here is really wishing that they didn't have to sit on a webinar listening to someone talk to them about how online grooming happens and the prevalence of it. But the internet, of course, has created wonderful opportunities, but it's also created lots of opportunities for people who wish to cause harm to children to have access to children. If we think about the internet as a huge room full of people, and your child's in this gigantic room of people, and there's a few people they know dotted around in real life, but the majority of them are strangers. The same risks exist online as would exist if you were in that room full of strangers. And we absolutely want to believe, I definitely want to believe that people are good, and we want our children to believe that people are good and that meeting new people is exciting and all the opportunities of interacting with new people. But we do need them to realise that sometimes people are not telling the truth about who they are, and sometimes their intentions are not always good. So grooming is someone befriending a child in order to take advantage of them, usually in order to coerce them into some sort of sexual activity. Your children online have a high chance of meeting people who aren't necessarily who they say they are, and some of these people's aims might be to groom a child and then the aim would be to meet up with them in person or to trick or coerce them into some sort of sexual activity online, whether that be sending images, live streaming, or sending videos. In terms of prevalence of this sort of situation, an Ofcom study in 2021 said that 30% of 12 to 15-year-olds had been asked to be befriended by a stranger online. And the NSPCC says that 1 in 7 11 to 18-year-olds have been asked to send sexualized messages or images, with them 1 in 5 being blackmailed and harassed into sending more once they've sent that initial image. And this can happen to any child in any family at all. So how do people who wish to do children harm access children? Well, the first thing is they take advantage of the fact that teenagers' brains are really poor at critical thinking. Teenagers' brains are not yet fully developed. They're not great at ascertaining the truth. And they're also primed for risk-taking behavior and reward-based behavior. They are very susceptible to the little dopamine hits that attention and likes and followers gives them. So groomers take advantage of the way that teenagers' brains are naturally wired to be less risk averse than adults. They typically do this by creating a fake profile. So an adult will create a fake profile, for example, pretending to be a 14-year-old girl. The profile picture will be of a 14-year-old girl, and then they will send that profile out they will just scattergun it to as many sort of other 14, 15-year-old girls that they can. Even if your child is really, really savvy and knows not to accept friend requests from someone they don't know, if enough of their friends accept the friend request or the follower request from this fake account, the algorithm, the way it works, will then serve this account up as a suggested account, and it will highlight, 16 of your friends also follow this account. So there's kind of two opportunities for an account to make contact with children. Once they get access to a child's account and they're talking, they will then go through a fairly quickly to build as strong a relationship as possible with a child. And they'll do this by hooking on to any personal information that a child has put out about themselves online. So they'll try and suggest that they semi-know each other, or that they've got lots of things in common. So again, let's go back to the calligraphy example. If that's in a child's bio, that, profile picture in the bio loves calligraphy, they can say, yeah, we met that. I go on to school, I don't go to school with you, but I'm on the same train as you. And I saw that in your bag you had a book about calligraphy, and that sounds great. And this is another way of tricking children into believing that this is someone who they know or semi-know, or someone who isn't a risk to them. Then, as soon as they built up a relationship, they can then add some power to that relationship by flooding with attention, or intermittently giving attention and withdrawing attention. And then we move on to the coercion, so the abuse of that power, coercing children to either meet up with them or to send images or live streaming online. So in terms of reducing the risk for this, the most important thing really is that you need to think about having regular conversations with your child, knowing about their online activity, normalizing the idea that you are going to be chatting to them about their online life, being there regularly so that your child can talk to you about what they're doing online means that either if your child wants to say to you, I think that I'm talking to somebody, but some of the things aren't quite adding up and it's a bit strange, or they're bombarding me with messages, or, oh, this person's fantastic and we're getting on so well. All of those things can be said to you if you're there whilst your child is online some of the time. Or if your child hasn't noticed it, by being there and having these regular, low stakes, normalized conversations about that online life, you might be able to piece together some parts of the jigsaw, which flags up to you that this is beginning to be a dangerous situation that you want to intervene in. It's really important that children keep their accounts private and don't share too much personal information like their location of where they are, or any of these hooks that someone can get onto. So for example, some common errors are their profile picture having their school crest on it, or perhaps a selfie of them at the train station with the train board behind what train and what location they're about to get onto, or even outside the school building with the name of the school. All of these things need to make sure that they are not out there online. If you do find out, and also, sorry, the most important thing to do is if a new person starts being mentioned an awful lot by your children to do with, oh, I've met this person and this person says this and this is so funny and, oh, I'll be down in a minute, I'm just chatting to this person, that needs to raise a red flag. And depending on the age of your child, depends on how you're going to deal with that. Definitely, if you've got a younger child, you can say, I'd like to, this person sounds like you've made a new friend, that's fantastic. I'm going to ask just to have a quick 2-minute video chat with them, just so that I can see them, so that I know that they are who they say they are. And if you've got a younger child, that hopefully should be accepted, even if they kind of roll their eyes and you say, sorry, you're going to have to humour me. If you've got an older child, you'll probably be quite selective in how you do that. Obviously, if they've got hundreds of followers and hundreds of new friends, you probably can't vet them all. But if you start to feel like somebody is important in your child's life and is starting to have an influence over them, I would say that it's very important to validate who this person is. If you think that your child is being groomed, or your child comes to you and tells you that there's been a situation, if you feel they're in immediate harm, it's really important that you notify the police. If you feel they're in immediate harm. If you don't feel that they're in immediate harm, then it's great to have already thought about the planned response that you're going to have. So all the adults in the house, anyone who your child's likely to come talk to, having a little rehearsed line so that outwardly you look calm and you're very like, thank you very much for telling me about this and I hope you're okay, even if inwardly you're horrified or terrified or very cross at your child for doing things that are a bit silly online, making sure that what they see is a supportive adult who's making it very clear that they love them and that nothing is going to stop that from happening, and that they have got someone who's on their team who's going to help them get out of this situation. As I said very early on in this, children are going to not want their phone taken away. Clearly, if they're in immediate danger, that trumps them not wanting their phone taken away. But if they come to you with a problem and say, oh, I've been talking to someone and now I'm worried, maybe it's not quite who they say they are, removing your child's phone will feel like a punishment to them. And we're trying to give across the impression that we are there to support them, to totally wrap them up in love and to help them through the situation, not punish them for something which isn't really their fault. You can definitely block the account, definitely report the account, speak to your child's school, and also report it to SWPS. SWPS is a branch of the National Crime Agency which helps to protect children from online sexual abuse, and they will get back to you and they will give you support in how to support your child and potentially you, and next steps to take. SWPS are absolutely fantastic at that. Lastly, I think it's really important to note that if your child has been interacting with an adult who is pretending to be another child, they will have had a lot of attention. It will have made them feel very good. They will have had lots and lots of positive attention. They will have had everything that they think agreed with, told that, yes, of course, you're right. That sounds like a wonderful idea. You look great. That's fantastic. And even if they know that logically that account was a fake account and that they were being manipulated, it's human nature to then miss that attention. As a family, then it's really important to come in and to flood your child with positive, loving attention to bridge the gap between, I had all this attention from this online account, I've realised, or my parents have helped me realise that in fact that was an unsafe situation and that account wasn't who they said they were. The account has been blocked, and now, even though I know logically I shouldn't, I miss that attention. Because what you don't want to happen is for them to either unblock it or for them to go out and seek the same sort of online interactions that they were having again.
Thank you, Jen, for that summation, really, of this rather serious matter, what to do to mitigate it, the red flags to look out for, and also what to do in the most extreme case with the SWPS and the police as a means to shut down this very inappropriate behaviour.
So the top tips really that have kind of woven its way throughout the whole of this is, the main one is to frequently be there for your child's online life. Light-hearted conversations, making sure that you're regularly asking them things that they want to talk to you about online, not just saying, that's your screen time up, rolling your eyes, I can't believe you're still on TikTok, have you done your homework, why are you on Instagram? Making sure that you're having lots and lots of positive interactions about your child's online life. They enjoy this. So you have to for them to allow you into it, you have to show that you are not suggesting to them that they shouldn't enjoy it or that it's silly. Be there with them so that they can come to you if they have any problems. React calmly to mistakes that your child makes online. Your child will make mistakes online, hopefully very small ones. And the way that you react to these small mistakes banks digital trust between you and your child that hopefully you never have to use. But if the worst should happen, it means that your child is likely to come to you and be totally honest with you if they get themselves into a situation where they feel scared or they feel they're in danger. Be really aware of a sudden new friend who becomes important in your child's life, and feel confident that in that situation that you can say to your child that you want to see this friend just to validate that they are who they say they are. And then lastly, your family norms, your relationship with your phone and social media in the online world is going to really influence your child's relationship with the online world. So consider your family norms, like where you charge your mobile phone or how much time you're spending online and how you use social media. And then that will help you to navigate helping your child to use it in a way that you feel is really healthy and positive for them.
Well, thank you very much, Jen, for a lovely summation there, the top tips for keeping your child safe. One of my reflections from today has really been that we are sort of analog creatures in a digital world. And a lot of the strategies you talked about, whether they're sort of specific and technical, many of them are all to do with human interactions, really, about keeping conversations going. I liked your phrase, wrapping them up in love, being there with your children, keeping that dialogue alive, even when it's difficult. And speaking as a parent as well as a teacher, I would say, you know, one of the messages I take as well is it's never too late to start. If you haven't necessarily followed the best practice that Jen's put out this evening, you know, that's okay. Start that conversation today and it will pay dividends going forward. I think, Jen, you're going to tell us about the next part.
Yeah, so we're going to continue the conversation about how to help you to keep your children safe online with another webinar, which we're going to send out on July the 10th. So we're going to release it on July the 10th. And we're going to cover some quite hard-hitting topics, including nude image sharing and live streaming, pornography, and online blackmail. So you can register for that at the same link that you registered for this one.
Thank you very much. I think we've got a couple of questions, some that have come in this evening and a couple that have been sent in advance. So here we go. The first one, Jane. Right. Do you have any tips to ensure safety while using WhatsApp, TikTok or Snapchat?
Yes, definitely. I think that, first of all, making sure that your child's privacy settings are turned up to maximum, and knowing how these settings differ between the apps. You can go onto the National Online Safety website for that information, or Internet Matters. That will tell you how to maximize your settings. I think that one of the key things is making sure that the profile picture and the blurb that is available to everybody doesn't share too much information or specific information about your child's school or their location.
Thank you very much. Second question is sort of related to that, about apps. It's come up on the chat here. Do you have any recommendations for family sharing or monitoring apps?
I think that there's so many out there. I think that massively depends on the type of whether you're analog, whether you're iOS. But my main tip in terms of family sharing is really, in the ideal situation, if you're still with a younger child, getting that child a phone that is the same brand, or at least running the same operating system as the phone that you have. Those family sharing apps where they're just using the inbuilt system, for example, Apple has family sharing. That is going to be the most slick way of making sure that you can control the content that your children can access, for example, which apps are on their phone, how long they can spend on them. If your child already has a phone and it's different to yours, then there are a variety of them, but there are so many, and it does depend on what type of phone you're on. But they all do fairly similar things in terms of allowing you to have access to what your child's phone can access.
Excellent, thank you. And finally, we talked about having this open dialogue, these conversations. Somebody's written in and said, how do you tackle those awkward conversations, maybe something practical, and engage with your child without them feeling that we, the parents, are being overprotective? Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, that is pretty tricky. I think, again, it depends on what age we're talking about. So with the younger age group, normalizing this right from the beginning. So even if you can, before your phone arrives, talking to them about, okay, what are we going to put on your phone? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the different apps. Oh, this one looks like you might be able to talk to people you don't know. That might make me feel a bit worried for you. How would that make you feel? Having these conversations, agreeing joint rules before the phone even arrives is a great place to start. If you've already got the phone and your child's already on social media, but they're still quite young, sort of year 7, year 8, I think they're probably still compliant enough that you can probably start with some quite like casual conversation. They probably really want to show you online. They'd be desperate to show you. If you say, I'd love to spend 20 minutes looking at TikTok dances with you, I'd like to think that quite a lot of children would actually quite like that opportunity to share that with their parents. Perhaps slightly older teens, you're going to have to be a little bit more savvy and perhaps a little bit more sort of manipulative in starting off with some low stakes conversations. So not any challenging questions, not suggesting that anything they're doing or seeing online is a problem. You can just say, oh, I've read about TikTok. Tell me more about it. It's in the news a lot at the moment. I want to know, there's a state in America that's banned it. Can you explain to me what's happening with it? Or if you've got a much older teen, sort of 16, 17, 18, you can tell them, I've watched a webinar where they've brought up things about life online for teenagers that I had no idea about. I wonder if this has happened to any of your friends, removing it from them. Has this happened to any of your friends or any of your year group? Have you ever heard of this happening? You can just be honest with them and say, the webinar made me think that I'd really like to talk to you about your life online more, and perhaps I'm going to start doing that.
I really like those thoughts of honesty, curiosity and openness, and that, I think, brings us beautifully to a close. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and do look out for the next one on the 10th of July. Thank you.
Thank you.